IVM.
Hello, Amit. I won't be able to record today, yaar.
Alright, why? What happened, Cyrus?
Ah, man, I've got to go to the bank. I have to open a new account. The document filing, profiling. You got to show this card, that card, this verification, that too many processes. Man, they should have to ease these things up, yaar. There's no way a normal person can do this.
Well, there is a way to do this. All you have to do is you can do all of this sitting at home if you have a Bank of Baroda account.
Huh? But I have a Bank of Baroda account.
Awesome, then all you really need to do to avail of 95% of all retail banking services domestically. Just download the Bob World app and use the banking services right at your fingertips.
Oh, wow, sorted. See you in the studio then. What a relief. Bank of Baroda, we live in your world. कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Very excited. Huge, interesting people coming on this show. And when I say huge and interesting, I don't mean just size-wise because one of them is like 6'3". But more importantly, he's a neighbor of mine and his colleague and partner. They're worth crores of rupees, doing really well, not paying their taxes, anti-government, fighting and abusing everybody they find, which is the right way to live their lives. And of course, from Poland or Yugoslavia, which is no longer called that. In the meantime, I have a piece of news I want to share with everybody as I clean my dirty nose. Sorry about that. Omicron is the actor. Omicron cases have gone over 10,000 plus as we speak in UK. And this is a national disaster. And by national disaster, I mean there's a very good chance the EPL will be suspended. So people are going nuts. And I'm sorry to break this news to you, but yes, English Premier League fans, it's very possible that there will be no Premier League in the coming days, even though they do go into break for a little while. So bad news. I can't help it. I'm just a purveyor. I'm not the cause. What we will do is go to two people who have caused a sort of shake-up in the business right from the early days in terms of the internet and producing content and promos and marketing and sales and the works.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Let's call in the two gentlemen. One is far away in Bangalore or Bangalore, Suvir Bajaj, who also is my neighbor. We live in the same building, although I don't pay rent and he does. And Pratik Gupta, who is, I presume, in Bombay, right, Pratik?
Yes, I am in Bombay, Cyrus.
That's the standard of our show. We only discuss the geography. That'll be the first 10 minutes, and then we'll go to something else. But Suvir, I must congratulate you on the Patanjali products you're taking, which have caused the growth of this beard and look. Fabulous as far as I'm concerned. Because people don't know, but I'm much older than you. I can remember Suvir, Pratik as a young boy. Okay, so let's say maybe for 6 months of my life, I remember him as shorter than me. Okay, when he was about 7. By 7.5, he was already my height, and by 9, you can imagine. And then now it's this quintessential beard, and I don't know what look he's going for there. I'm a little. Is it more the yogi look, or is it the blast from the 60s, or the creative? Well, what's the story behind that? You just let it grow, right?
Yeah, the story is actually just laziness. But what's fun is that everyone comes up with their own story, and that's what I enjoy, right? So depending on what part of the country or what part of the world you're in, everyone has their own story. So when I go to Rajasthan, everyone gets really fascinated by the mustache because like it's part of the Rajput culture, etc. If I go to a 5-star hotel and they think I'm the doorman waiting to open the door for them. So it really depends on where you are, and people come up with their own story. It actually really entertains me. I was in Delhi all of last week, and in Delhi, people said, "Oh, it can go either way. It's either Christmas time, so now I'm beginning to get the first few white hairs, and everyone's like, you're
Young
preparing
Santa.
for the Santa Claus look." Or they said, okay, now you're getting a few white hairs, you got a big beard, you're preparing for the Modi look, because I was in Delhi. So
Oh, old Santa. Both are giving gifts. Fair enough. Very well done, boss. Your comedy
One
level is
gives them
much better
one
than
thing.
mine. Sharp boy. Pratik, let's talk a little bit about you now. Sadly, I know Suvir a little better, so I may not ask him the personal questions just out of default. But just a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into how you all met, etc. But just your background before this.
Nothing. We were studying. Suvir and I were studying in different colleges in Bombay, and we knew each other because We used to do Model United Nations, typical South Bombay things, and that's how we met. That's how we went to Pakistan. That's how we started this organization. So we started this, and we did this when we were 19. So really, there's no background before when you were 19.
Oh, hold on. At 19, you went to Pakistan.
We went to Pakistan when we were 17, actually.
18.
Roughly,
18.
which year would that be?
2006.
That's right.
I can't remember if diplomatic relations were good. They probably were at that point. Yeah. We went to a tour, cricket team's tour at that point. Yeah. All good. Okay. That shaped your thinking and leanings after that, which we won't discuss on the show. Don't worry. You are men of peace.
Yes.
Perhaps born in the wrong time. Okay. So you guys have known each other from. This is very interesting because it almost sounds like some of the startup companies in America where friends get together and next thing you know they bankroll something really big. Just take us back to, let's understand the idea of where the birth of your nation came about, in a sense. I mean, like you said, you had similar thoughts. I understand that now, but where were the ideas? I mean, if you can just go back to the genesis of what happened.
We just didn't want to do an internship, Cyrus. That was the reality of the situation, right? Like, I think, so we did an internship.
There's a backstory to this, Cyrus. I had actually come to you that summer and told you to help me getting an internship at MTV, and it didn't work out. So
Why?
We didn't get an internship, and therefore we decided
internship
to start
at MTV was very
thing.
easy. They didn't pay you.
I don't know. Maybe they thought we weren't good enough.
Did I not even try? God, how sad this sounds. I apologize.
Maybe they thought I wasn't good enough.
Or they may have thought if I recommend someone, there's no way they would hire that guy.
Because that's what it led to the birth of. I'll let Prateek pick up from there. But that was actually the one degree behind the story that we don't tell anyone.
Let me understand this, because this goes on the file. MTV sort of rejected you, and that's how you were able to become a super entrepreneur. Otherwise, you'd have been working, logging files and God knows what in production somewhere deep in Andheri. And Prateek, your story, anything similar? You actually went to internship somewhere?
I did. I was at Balaji Telefilms, and that's where.
Oh my God, that's the worst job ever in the sense of you'll never go home. Are you serious?
Yeah. I was interning there. I mean, I was working there for a while. I worked there for 3 or 4 months, and I think that's when that summer both of us decided that listen. So we was working at Indian Express, and I was at Balaji, and we had a lot of people who came to us to do small little gigs, and we said that listen, this internship experience is rubbish. Like there's nothing that these guys are actually making us do.
What are you telling people? Their parents tell them work hard, do the internship, walk through the step-by-step process, and go up the corporate ladder, and you just rubbish it all. You're going to cause real disruption in the society.
And we just said that, okay, listen, I mean, you know Suvir and Suvir's family, right? They're all lawyer families. So we got together and, we said, okay, let's start something. But the only thing that Suvir in short we did was the fact that we signed a partnership deed, right? So it almost made it very, very legitimate, very, very quickly. And we had no plan. We had no reason. We just had gigs, man. Like we just had small little jobs. And we just came together.
So one second. So what is the premise you built the partnership on? There was none.
Summer. Just have fun during the summer.
So we're going to spend the summer together, but let's sign a contract.
Yeah. No one second. Are you honestly saying there was no real thought process to what you're doing? It's just that we'll be partners and it'll evolve organically.
Zilch. Yes, absolutely.
Wow. That takes a lot of courage, or now it sounds like courage. It would sound almost banal that, to young boys would not, because normally you'll have a very clear, this is what we want to do. But what you're saying is
Cyrus, you remember the summer when you were 19, right? There were only 2 priorities when you were 19. You were only clear about 2 things when you were 19.
Still are.
Yeah, exactly, right? Everything else is just a haze, right? Everything else is just fuzzy. So, and we enjoyed living in that fuzz, right? Because it gave us the flexibility to do whatever the hell we wanted to. And not really sticking to one narrative because there was none, to be honest. So that really gave us the option to meander, from day to day and month to month and try a hand at.
So here's a question, especially for upper middle class Indians who hopefully listen to this program. What do the parents say? I would think that with the kind of good education you guys have had and all that, suddenly to chuck out the internship and say without a real plan, say we're just sort of fiddling around and doing something as partners. What was their reaction?
They're actually fairly, very, very supportive, right? Like I think, and that was the best part of what we had, right? Like for them, this was, it was what we overall in this organization, we've ever only put 64,000 rupees divided by 4 people, right? So we legitimately have put 16,000 rupees. And like you said, from the kind of families we came, 16,000 rupees was not going to break the bank, right? Nor was it going to was it going to stop 2 meals.
Those were good years. Those were good years. Yeah.
Yeah. So really for them to see the fact that we were not meandering in different directions, but at least what they assumed we were going to Suvir's house at that time, where and working or when we started an office and we were actually working. So the only good thing is that we called them for the office opening so that they knew it was a legitimate space, and therefore whenever we whenever we went there, they were happy that we were doing something and not whiling away our time in college, which is what otherwise everybody assumes you're doing.
For those who don't know about the South Bombay college experience, you can skip it and nothing happens. You just have to do your exams basically. So how do we
Yeah.
explain that to people all over the world? Everybody checks in. It actually is true. For generations, you just have to basically have attendance and do an exam. That's it. And 5 years pass like that, and chasing girls and all, as you mentioned in the beginning. But okay, let's just understand again, because I think you guys are being very modest about it, and it's sounding almost very romantic. This whole thought of two young guys just going out and say, let's see what happens. But just tell us how you built this brand, because at the end of the day, you did get some work coming in, so you realized that you don't have to look. The market is already there for you. What was the work, and what do you think? This is a difficult question because you don't want, I'm sure, want to praise yourself. But what do you think made you stand out?
So you want to go for it?
Yeah,
He's
okay,
in the
cool.
dark.
So when we started out, it was initially a lot of the networking that we did was because of like sisters, friends who had graduated, who were working in corporate India, etc. Friends, sisters who were working in corporate India, and we just went to peddle our wares, and we had none. I remember the first time we went for a meeting, we took our erstwhile business partner's elder sister's portfolio and shopped it around as our portfolio, saying, "Look, we can do advertising and creative and stuff like that." And there was one client who decided to take a punt on us, saying, "Oh, look, I like this. Why don't you do outdoor billboards for me?" We knew nothing about outdoor billboards, but we just said yes. We said, let's do it, and we said yes to everything. There's that little park in that gully behind Khopchi that goes down towards Simla House. I forget what the park is called. Yeah, so we made a video there of how to purify water with a water filter during the monsoons. Like we used to do absolutely bizarre things. Anything that came out.
Cyrus, just to add to what you said, right? You obviously require the filter to be at a height which is greater than the place that the water is coming from. So we was our stand at that point in time.
Oh, what a way to save money.
Yeah.
the movable height thing. Yeah. You can even change angles, camera angles and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous
We-
story. So this was like you were literally doing a video on how to show a filtration thing happening.
Yeah. It was for a water filter company called Jaltara, which was like our third project ever. Again, friend's dad who started this company and needed some cheap marketing solution, so he got some kids in who would do like a job for 1% of the price that an agency would do it for, and we did it. We just said yes.
Hey, Dhirubhai started with some laundry stuff. I mean, that's fine. You take what you get. Yeah,
absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Honestly, tell me, did you have any idea you would grow so well and that there was so much in your future in such a little time? Because you guys have really actually boomed in 5 years after that. So did you have any idea, or you were still just having fun? Just like young guys having fun, not being tied to a desk.
Yeah, so I mean, I think recently we were discussing three things, right? Like initially we were just doing time pass, then we built a business, and now we're going to build an institution, right? And I think that's the conversation that we've been having for the first 5 years. We were just putting our head down and having lots of fun doing the stuff that was coming our way. Some of the stuff we were really really fortunate about, and some of the stuff we really did some unbelievably great work, and it all happened because we were extremely focused in doing it. But I think I always keep going back to the fact that our office was just like a madhouse, right? Everybody just loved being around each other, and that energy is able to create some magic at some point in time. And yeah, we were just focused, hardworking kids who stayed away from the quintessential stuff, and we were just working.
I was also going to say timing had a lot to do with it, right? Because entrepreneurship and running startups wasn't cool back then. We were definitely earlier than we started in 2008, right? Well before the startup bubble, this digital bubble, etc. In 2009, we were amongst the first kids to call ourselves a digital marketing, creative and advertising shop. So there was a lot of first mover advantage around this. People didn't know where to go, and we were the only place to go to. It's kind of like the one bar breach candy that we all had growing up when you didn't have any other option. So everyone flocked there, and then we had a great time while we were there as well. So I think that also timing had a lot to do with it as well.
And when you say timing, it's also time, and you guys may have been very fearless. When I'm listening to you talk, I'm just thinking, because it sounds even comical from time to time, but it's also a fact that there's real balls at play here. You don't care.
Yeah, of course.
There's no fear. And I suppose as you get bigger and bigger, there will be fear. So that now you're talking about becoming an institution. Suddenly now you have to take it more seriously. You think that's going to be a bit of a challenge? Because you guys were these flamboyant buccaneer types who just turned up, did their thing, and everything started working. And you didn't really care whether it worked. You were just having fun, like you said. And now suddenly you've reached a point where you're a leader and you're looking to go to the next level. So now is there pressure, or you still going to have the same attitude of let's have fun?
No, same attitude, Cyrus. I think. Yeah. And I don't think we take ourselves seriously at all, right? I don't think the people around us, our support systems, whether it's family, friends, I don't think they take us seriously at all. One of my closest friends came to my office 2 years ago for the first time ever, and he actually called up my other friends and says, "Hey, he actually has 200 people." I was like, "What the hell do you think I was doing for the last 10 years?" Right? So I don't think those people actually take us very seriously, and that's great, right? Because we're able to continue to remain the way that we always have been, and I think both between Subir and I, we have lots of checks and balances of. If one person is down in the dumps and you're just like, listen, this is getting really really hard, the other person takes over and vice versa. So I think the fact that we know each other for so long, we've seen each other's highs and lows, really helps the process. But honestly, a majority of this goes to all the people that are just around us. I think they've been phenomenal to us, and they just keep us nice and grounded and fearless.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the team. So there's the two of you, and who else? And the whole creative process, who plays what role? I mean, as much as you want to share, we don't want to get into a Lennon
So
McCartney
we'll
get
go
back
for it.
space. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think something that's worked for us really well is grooming leaders internally. We've had guys that have, our story is about 13 years old, but we've had guys in the system who've been with us for like 12 years, literally 12 out of 13 years. And we've groomed a lot of talent internally. And I find that that's a solution that's really worked well for us. And when I say groom talent, I don't only mean like on the creative side or the business side. Our accountant, for instance, as well, because he's been with us for 12 years. The guys who run listening, analytics, or online reputation management, they've been with us for a decade, for 10 years plus now. And it's amazing because, and these are all guys that we knew through college and through common friends and, contemporaries of ours, same age, similar age at least. And, they've kind of grown through the ranks. And I feel it's important that people are in similar stages of their life as well as similar stages of their career with you, because then they grow together with you and there's no mismatch of expectations. Recently, when I say recently, I mean about 4 or 5 years ago, we reached this understanding as well, where very often we realize that when we're constantly grooming people, we ourselves are not learning. So we said it's for us, for Pratik and me, we are the smartest guys in the room. So we made a pact saying that post 2017, we have to make sure that we're not the smartest guy in the room. And we're always hiring guys, who are way smarter than us, who are way more experienced than us, because you can't replace experience with anything. You can't replace experience with drive or ambition or hunger. Experience is experience. And now, in fact, we have people as part of our team. We have partners in the network now who are even 50 years older than us or 40 years older than us. And it's been very humbling to now actually get the opportunity to learn from people who have actual gray hair and not these small little things on my chin that we're calling gray. So it's been humbling, the diversity of people that we get the opportunity to work with. Also, like you said in the intro, I'm in Bangalore right now. I was in Gurgaon last week. We've got offices around the country now, so getting to work with people from all different backgrounds. And I think the culmination and the potpourri of people coming together, it's like it's a real motley of skill sets and people and culture and diversity. And obviously that brings a lot of fun, and there's a lot of great food and a lot of great booze and stories and interactions, which kind of just adds to the creative process, which is what you were asking about.
So what you're also saying here is that the continuity, the sustainability that you manage is because of the continuity. You back the same people. This is what I tell the BCCI: back the same cricketers. Stop changing people left, right, and center. Just back a group, give them a time. So that's a very important point, actually. Do you think that we don't do that enough? That sometimes people, the attention span being not good enough, or targets aren't met quickly enough, or whatever. How do you make a decision on what is correct in continuity and what is like, let's cut our losses?
It's a two-way street, Saris. I think, usually things in this regard are written from either side of the spectrum, right? They're either written from the employee side or they're either written from the employer's side, right? What you're usually looking for, nobody wants to discontinue, nor the employee, I think Subir and my biggest task is that we need to make this dream big enough for everybody to fit in, right? Like it's not only about how much we will make or how, or what we do professionally. We have to look at the professional ambitions of all the people who work for us, right? And I think
the personal ambitions
and their personal ambitions, right? Like I think what their personal issues are, what their professional issues are, what their growth is not, is our problem at the end to solve, right? Because if we can't enable that, I don't think that we can enable ourselves the wings that we think that we have, right? So for us, we look at it both ways, and if that starts to align with people, I think everybody likes continuity, everybody likes familiarity, everybody, nobody wants to get into newer spaces, awkward spaces, because today, a lot of relationships are flimsy, built on social media, built across, just looking at doing cool things. Those deep, real connections are hard to come by, and I think you got to hold them when you get them. So, like, we make a conscious effort to at least try and work towards building building better people with us, because we can't do this alone, right? Now the dream is very, very big for us to even try and attempt to do it alone. Like we're already getting white hair at 33, so I think it's that's sign of what's coming.
Yeah, he's getting that because he lives in my building. The lifts are too small. The Bajaj family really suffers because they're all giants and there's no space. Why didn't we get a bigger lift, man? For God's sake, somebody should think these things through. Maybe there were really short people initially in that building. Where you worked, is that true? You worked, that was your first office, in a sense, 6th floor, Skylark.
So his bedroom was our first.
Against the law, government to note, using residential centers for commercial purposes. It's corruption.
1 second.
Cyrus is making a note not for government, but Cyrus has been harassed by too many young kids in the building who, when we were young, used to ring his bell and run away just to get a glimpse of his face.
I thought that was Priyanka's gang.
Those were Priyanka's
Once
friends. Those were not mine. Yeah, those were Priyanka's. Mine was slightly more well behaved. Yeah, mine would just raid the kitchen, eat all the food, and go home.
Yeah, because Priyanka would be very apologetic, as in she would try to stop them apparently, but it was for whatever reason. This is another story. But I want to ask you on a slightly, again, awkward question. How do you keep the peace? Because both of you are creative, both of you all are like visionaries, both of you all think out of the box, and that's why you are where you are. So how do you make sure that you don't collide? And if you do, how do you sort it out? After 13 years,
Well,
obviously it's like a
Bombay.
good marriage, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's in Bombay, I'm in Bangalore. There's no way we can collide.
Separate rooms. It's called separate rooms. It works all over the world. Yeah. So you can avoid.
No, but I think the objective is fairly clear, Cyrus, as to why we're getting into a certain kind of an argument, right? And also the simplicity of the matter is that we know each other really, really well, right? So I know how to present something to him. He probably knows how to present something to me. You know the ins and out and the quirks of the other person, right? So you work with it, you work around it, and sometimes you use it to your advantage, right? Like I know when to wind him up for what reason, and let him lose on the people that require that he lets lose, and it's not difficult for him to wind me up, but I'm sure that's when he does it too.
I was going to say that, we don't avoid the collision. The collision is actually good because, if you're hashing things out for good reasons, for good problems to solve, whether business problems or creative problems, we actually appreciate different points of view, because if it was, one person leading every conversation, life would just get boring. We genuinely say that having 4 hands to run a business is so much better than having 2 hands, because you can get so much more done with your 24 hours of the day. So that we actually look forward to the collisions. They don't happen too often because we've been working together for the better part of a decade and a half now, but we actually look forward to them when they happen.
Actually, that's a great point. Degree in psychology coming through as well. I'm just thinking that helps in relationships. People don't confront each other, and hence it becomes like a cancer. But when you do confront each other, more often than not, you just move on immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sumir Bajaj, I'm learning as we speak, Dr. Bajaj. Thank you for that. I'm going to repair my marriage in 5 minutes. Okay, before we go to a break, I want to just segue quickly into the Pakistan story. I know the Suvir's angle to some extent. I know he has a podcast, and we've spoken on the podcast as well, and I know his views, etc. But it seems to be a pretty big influence, the fact that you went there and your understanding of humanity and, let's say, global politics and all changed completely. Just give us a quick insight into how that affected you in 2006, was it?
Yeah, 2006. But Cyrus, I think, I keep saying this, right? Like you sometimes, when we crossed over into Pakistan in a train, right? And we were 16, 17-year-old, kids and everything, right? Do you think our fields are greener than their fields, right? Do you think that the way they talk is different than the way that we talk, right? It's fear, right? Like that's how this always been marketed to. And honestly, when we crossed over, this was almost pre-mobile era, right? I remember we went to a ISD booth in Pakistan to make a call back home. You were in that country, right? Everybody around you was just baffled that you are going to Pakistan. They were scared about the stamp of the passport, and they were scared about everything. The hype for us, they were scared that we won't come back. The hype was crazy, right? Like, and that fear really translated because the process of getting from India to Pakistan by train was a slow and arduous process, right? Like, it was not something that happened. You're not in a flight and you suddenly realize, oh, we're 20 minutes away and landing into another city. I think that fear brought us very, very close, like in the sense that we legitimately very quickly had only each other to rely on, or the other set of people that we had to rely on. And that's a very real process, right? Because you are so vulnerable at that point in time that you almost start to connect with the other person, which has led to certain kinds of understanding and certain kind of trust and faith that you build in the other person. So for me, while the trip was one of the most amazing trips of my life, and that story is well documented in Suvir's podcast, as you would hear it. But honestly, for me, the fact that we had only each other to rely on when we entered, and we had only each other to celebrate with when we came back, and came back hale and hearty. I think was the biggest journey that we undertook, and it's serendipity in that sort of a sense when you look back.
And obviously, you just had a great reception, a lot of warmth and generosity, that kind of thing.
100%. We didn't pay for shit.
Yeah, I would only go for that. Just just smile and say I'm from India and this and everything is free. But the big point here is, and I know it sounds almost infantile to make it, but it looks like people can really get along if we don't involve the governments. Have you noticed that? Actually, people
Yeah.
can really get along across the world. You just
Absolutely.
go there, enjoy. Like you said, the fields didn't change. You go there, you eat the food, you talk the talk, you have a good time, and you come back with good memories. And then again, you come back and pick up the papers or today's digital papers, whatever you want to call it, and it's all this. So Suvir, but
And
you're
you can
very
hello.
strongly, yeah, go ahead, go on.
I was going to say you can hear more about all of this on 883 to Infinity, available on all podcasting platforms close to you.
We call it a subtle plug when you say it completely on your own like that. It's just all completely. Please, no, but do tune into the podcast because I think honestly it works on two levels. Firstly, of course, it will be interesting. He talks to different people, but more importantly, is it the only, what is the right word, bi-country, biennial sort of podcast that there is? I think it's unique in that sense. There isn't any. We aren't allowed by law apparently. So podcast is the only world where it's gray area. Everywhere else
Absolutely.
is difficult. You dare mention Pakistan and you're a traitor and things like that. Yeah. I mean, I had to take out my Wasim Akram poster about a few years back from my bedroom and I hide it just in case, they brand me something. Yeah. It's amazing. But let's take a quick break, which in our case is no break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Varun talks to Anmol Gill, Head of Consumer Marketing at Bacardi India. They discuss the alcobev industry, role of culture and marketing, and a whole lot more. On the Storytellers and Storysellers podcast, Vineet talks to Ambi and Bindu Subramaniam about the Sapa School of Music. They aim to make music learning more fun and accessible. Why is Google refusing to pull down a pro-suicide website? The Press Decode hosts analyze this piece of news. On Ikka Dukka Economy, Abhinav and Dr. Bharat Junjunwala cover everything there is to learn about IPOs. And on Say No to Drama, Chetna talks about how what-ifs could be a major barrier to most of your problems. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Go check out our YouTube channels. We go live on a whole bunch of different things. We have a number of different channels. You can find them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you for making this possible.
And we're joined by a luminary called Silvery, also known as Antariksh, who was born in Pakistan, but we're trying to send him back, but they won't take him. Hi,
My
Silvery.
grandparents are from Pakistan, by the way.
All
They're
right,
actually
now
from
don't get
Pakistan.
angry,
Yeah,
don't get
the same,
testy.
same.
They bring
No,
peace.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Silvery actually is the producer of the show, and I forgot to talk about Zoo Media for a second. What is the significance of Zoo Media? We all know Oxymoron, and that was the company that sort of made you famous as well.
Foxymoron.
Foxymoron, my Oxymoron.
Also, at one point you said Sudhir. It's Suvir, by the science. You did.
Did I say
I
Sudhir?
noticed. Yeah,
Low
I
testosterone.
know,
It
I know.
happens, Sudhir, at my age. When you start slurring and the words start going.
I'm not worried about Cyrus getting my name wrong. I see him way too often for him not to know
He
my
doesn't
name.
care. Yeah. And did you tell Pratik another coincidence? Let's see karma. And it's not that common a name when I was growing up. It is now.
Yeah.
We had a Pratik in the building, and Suvir and Pratik are
Ah.
almost contemporary. Well, he's older than Suvir, but yeah. So there were 5 kids. There were 5 youngish people in the entire building, and one is a Pratik, one is a Suvir, and next thing you know, another Pratik replaces that
Nice.
Pratik, and boom, you're partners.
Who is the Pratik?
Yeah.
I didn't know this Pratik.
Pratik
was
Vahi.
growing up.
So we had on the second row, we had
Oh, I
Suren
didn't
and
know
Pratik.
him.
Suren was the dad, Sanket and
Yeah.
Pratik.
Oh,
I don't know if you must have some memory. You were 2-3 years younger than me. How much younger are you? For
I'm
God's sake,
33. I'm considerably younger.
you're
than you.
lying. You're Pakistani. You're not telling the truth. 119 teams. You're like Shahid Afridi. Tell the truth. Yeah, so that's amazing. He's only 33. But I do have very strong memories of him going to Bombay International School. And, he grew really fast and it was really scary. It just makes you feel complex all over again. You've just dealt with it in your 20s or whatever. And then the young kid is... but he's a skyscraper, no point. So Zoo Media, just a quick word, and then we'll get the AMAs in. I know you guys have to leave.
So Zoo Media, Cyrus, is for us is a vision of getting the best talent coming together, right? So we've either grown some agencies together in specialized services, or we've acquired a few, or we've done joint ventures with a few. So we're saying that now we know, I mean, we think we know how to run this business. I think it's time that we scale it by getting a lot more specialists into the ecosystem. That was the dream of Zoom Media, and it's very, very differently constructed than the way that usual advertising networks are structured. And because digital is at the core of what we're doing. So that's what it is.
My infantile brain is stuck on one thing. There's Zoo and there's Foxy. And there's animalistic sort of content there. And I know irreverence is key in today's world, but yeah.
Zoo has 7 agencies. Foxymon is the oldest that we started now 14 years ago. Then we set up the Rabbit Hole. You see the animal again. Then we set up the Rabbit Hole is our production house and our content studio. You've met Rishabh, I think, Cyrus, briefly. Then we set up the influence and the talent management vertical, which is called Polin. We set up a consultancy, which is called Doin Oink Consulting. So you see the commonality between all the animals over there.
And for those who don't know, your WhatsApp has a Snoopy.
My WhatsApp is a Snoopy, absolutely.
He has a Snoopy. He has a tattoo
called the Starter Lab.
Wait, it's all coming out now, Mr. Starter Lab. Let's be on the personal story. Where's the bloody Snoopy? Where's the damn tattoo? Go on, Pratik.
Yeah, it's on his. He has the biggest Snoopy tattoo on his calves. Like it's massive.
Ow.
It's massive.
What's the fascination with Snoopy, Suvir?
I mean, it was one of the comic strips that I grew up reading in the midday. I remember my dad used to bring the midday home from the office every single day, and I used to read it. And Snoopy was just this really chill back, laid back dog who loved eating pizza and roller skating. And he was a writer. He played the piano. He didn't care a damn about anything else in life. But he's also very loyal.
Sounds like a Malabar Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of lifestyle, yeah.
Right? But he was also a very loyal dog. He was very loyal to his friends. He loved to play the fool. He would always get them into trouble, etc. And was just a character that I really associated with. And it just became part of my identity.
And Pratik, I remember when he was very young, Suvir, not Snoopy. I don't know Snoopy. And in any case, they pronounce it Snoopy in Bombay because only the help walk the dogs and they can't say the S. But he's always been very dog friendly. See, I have an eye for that because I'm like a racist. If you're animal friendly, I remember you for life. And as a young kid, he had that, and not many people are in urban India now.
Yeah,
and he immediately would go to the whatever dogs we've had over the years, etc., etc. I noticed that also. So there must be some animal spirit in this man, which is percolated into all this, all coming together in some karma, where the same named kid from the building joins him as a partner, and then they rise into this atmosphere. And just a quick word about what y'all are handling, which I should have done at the top. Netflix, Amazon, L'Oreal, IKEA, Hershey's. I mean, these are not brands. These are all icons. Dyson, Colgate, Burger King, my favorite, Hindustan, Unilever, Pepsi, Dream 11, which is, all over the internet. The Aditya Birla Group, Huawei, Dabur, Wellspun, Celio. I mean, there's no... look at the portfolio. Isn't there pressure now? I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, I think the hard work is done. It's over.
Snoopy is king.
Long live.
Snoopy show baby Snoopy to entire forest. Hold him up. Yeah. It's amazing, guys. In just 13, 14 years, you've set up so much. And I think you're absolutely telling the truth when you say it was like on a lark. You were just sort of doing your thing and it just sort of grew in front of you. And I think it's just a very romantic story in that sense. And I hope people really get inspired by it because really, there's no background. None of you have there's no godfather or anything. There's no setup behind. I mean, I know Suvir's family, etc. And it's got nothing to do with this side of business. It just came from left field and boom. I think I'm sure you're the same. So
my father still thinks that I do IT, right? Like, so he still thinks that I probably go repair someone's computer. And my grandfather, because I didn't have to go back and explain to him, if he would call me up and said his friend's computer stopped working, I'd send my IT guy to him saying, listen, I can't go home and have a 4-hour conversation trying to explain what I do. So let's just get this done. So absolutely, no one knows what the hell we do.
Not to mention the pal of yours who found 200 employees and was flabbergasted because he thought you were a wastrel. He had no idea. God, that's amazing. All right, Silvery, shall we get into the EMAs because they want to leave in about 15 or less? Yeah.
Absolutely. Just one question for you guys. There was this Janvi was telling me about this agency collective that you guys are a part of or you guys have started. Could you please talk about that for a second? I think it's like the first agency collective in India, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so that's what the Zoom Media Group really is, actually, to be honest. We put our first agency together, which is Foxymon around 14 years ago. And then we set up Phosphine in Bangalore, which is our creative tech shop that does virtual reality, augmented reality, machine learning, image recognition, voice-activated chat, voice-activated search, chatbots, that kind of stuff. Then we put together another agency called The Rabbit Hole, which I spoke about briefly, which is our production house, which works with Netflix. That's the content AOR for Netflix. Then we put our next agency together, which is Polin, which is influencers, talent, creators, etc. And we realized we can't keep building each agency, so we started aggregating agencies, who are specialists, like Pratik was saying earlier, in certain domains. So our technology company, Noesis Technologies, is a marketing tech specialist in e-commerce and communities and publishing, that kind of stuff. We have another agency called the Starter Lab, which is focused on direct-to-consumer e-commerce companies, working with young startup companies. Cyrus, you may know these boys. They're Bombay Gym boys, much younger than me as well, from the football field. Must have seen them about, Rehan and Karthik. So we've aggregated them to the network as well. We're putting a couple of more companies into the network in the offline activations and events space, in the sports management space. So the idea really, we have a media company called Mammoth Media, which invests in creating and owning media properties like the podcast, like OTT shows that we're building out for certain platforms inside of India and abroad as well. So we've got about 9 or 10 agencies now that we've put together under the umbrella of the Zoo Media Network. So the Zoo Media Network becomes the umbrella or the holding company. And then we have these specialist agencies that feed into various different clients for their specialized skill set in terms of what they're able to offer their clients.
Okay, just quickly, now that you mentioned Rehan, there's a beggar at the traffic light at Churchgate. I kid you not, I swear my mother, who's wearing his jersey with Rehan written on it. And my daughter spied it when we were driving back. And she said, he can't be, it just sounded wrong, So just tell him. This happens also with our school uniforms. You see people wearing your famous houses and all that. I'm just warning you guys. Okay, just check that out. So tell Rehan, I can tell you the traffic light. It's a Churchgate signal at Pizza by the Bay or Jazz by the Bay, whatever it was. It's right there. He's there and he's wearing it a lot.
Rehan's probably listening in. So he's probably listening right now.
Wearing his ganji. So you'll be able to tell. Just be careful.
His sadra.
Be careful. We have very few communities left to support the show. I want to just mention one of the 200 plus awards, which we didn't talk about in such a short span. Again, 200 plus. That's not a joke. That's huge. Which includes Social Media Agency of the Year, Agency Con Indian Agency Awards, and featured in the Ad Gully list of powerful influencers. Do these things mean a lot to you?
No.
But surely they help the business, do they not? I mean,
You
can push that thing. So, but
we call it vanity metrics.
They also serve as great motivations to teams, actually. Teams work really hard on campaigns, and it's great for them to see their campaigns come to life on a platform, on a stage, pegged against agencies, pegged against other agencies, other campaigns, etc. And then all of a sudden you see you're the best. And it's a lot of validation, and it's something for them to take back and feel good about. And there's a party that happens at the end of these awards functions. Someone gets together, has a few drinks. A few is not a few, obviously.
On Zoom, albeit on Zoom right now, but what the hell?
For the last year and a half, yeah. But in that context, I think it's a great motivational tool for the teams. Like you said, it definitely works well with clients because you have a little slide, you have a little wall in your office with all the trophies, and then people come and they'll take a picture against it and say, "Look where I'm working at." So it's a sense of pride for people to be working, in a it's part of the reputation. It's part of the well-reputed organization, Avtar, that you kind of own.
It's also it talks about how prolific you guys have been in such a short span of time, and not to put pressure because you're so unassuming, you won't really be able to tell unless they Google you and study you properly. But it's almost like it doesn't stop. It's like the Beatles, hit after hit after hit, it just carries on. And in a sense, do you really have no idea that you've done so well? In a sense, I mean, it's such an odd question to ask somebody who's look back and you.
We've been slapped, Cyrus. I mean, we've seen the lows as much as we talk about the highs. Honestly, I mean, our journey has been. I mean, we're 2 partners down. We're about 25 deals not happened because of the fact that there are 2 partners who are not in this ecosystem today. I mean, what the stories of each one of them is for another 3-hour podcast each. And how that has got us to where we are.
We got the sponsor for that, I can tell you.
I mean, I shouldn't tell you who the sponsor is, but there will be a sponsor, starts with W, ends with P. But but the thing is that we've seen it, right? Like we at one time saw a really, really bad phase. We didn't know how the company would be, how the company would survive. I mean, all the cool and sexy stuff we're all obviously discussing over here, but we've seen a real journey. So, which is the reason that I think that the fear has been taken away, which is the reason where, why we're just enjoying ourselves now more than, trying to put pressure on ourselves to continuously keep giving those hits like the Beatles. And we realize that we're not going to get all of them are not going to go out of the park, and they're not supposed to go out of the park. And we're okay with failing. And we keep telling everybody in the system saying, if you're failing, at least you're moving, right? Like, I mean, if you're not if you're not moving, then what's the point of it? So really, we have a really shit dungy side as well.
No, so that's great. So you stay grounded because you know there are things that didn't happen here and there. But I'm saying, end of the day, I'm a big statistic fan. I think record speaks for itself. You look at the brands that you're working with, who have sustained the relationship with you. Those are very important points. And the fact that you kept the same team, which you stressed out in the beginning, which shows confidence in yourself more than confidence in them. That's what I get out of it. So I'm just saying, maybe there's a lesson for young people who look up to you and say, we want to be the next big entrepreneurs of this country, and realize that you just be enthusiastic and just back yourself, which is basically what you've done. It's really a romantic story. It's just two guys. Well, okay, four guys initially. You just walk literally into that dirty lane he's mentioned in Malabar Hill. God forbid you should go there. I mean, I would not have any of my women for going there at any point in the day. But Suvir, the Sindhi jeans, said, bro, I got the location. We don't have to pay. They'll pay us to come here. And I'm going to be the tree. And using his height to purge the water from. Fair enough. Okay,
there was a lot of interpretation of shady things that we used to do. I remember, our first office was very close to college, obviously, because we needed it to be close because we were up and down a lot. It was in a building called Kulkarni Patil Bhavan, right next to Sterling Cinema, actually, which was great for me because like Bombay Gym was a stone's throw away. And I remember one day at 12 o'clock, we had cops visit the office and we were working on some project or something like that. And the cops were like, come down, we've gotten complaints about this. I was like, what complaints? We're working on computers. There's no noise. There's no mess. There's nothing, there's no shoot going on the street. So they were like, no, come down. We want to talk to you. And I went down and they put me inside this little police van. And I was like, I'm not getting into a van with you guys at 12:30 in the night. I was 20 or 21 at that time. And they were like, no, we've gotten complaints. And I was like, what complaints have you got? They said, there are young girls working up till late in the night. We know what you guys are doing up there. I said, what are we doing? Tell us. They were like, hum log ko sab pata hai, etc. Ab van mein chalo, police station chalo, thana chalo, hamare saath. So I was refusing. They were pushing me around a little bit. I was a young kid. They put me in college. They put me into the van and we started driving. I said, I want to make a call. They were like, no, give me your cell phone and all. And they said, okay, who do you want to call? I said, oh, I come from a family of lawyers and dad's a lawyer, this lawyer, that. They're like, what do you do? I said, I'm in law school as well. I'm going to become a lawyer as well. So they're like, oh, you come from a family of lawyers. And then Marathi says, stop the van on the side. He kicks me out and he's like, please go. We don't want to deal with you.
Mumbai's finest, the same people who organize the mass checks and eat up all the money on the side. We've been following that story about the mass marshals. One of the biggest industries, they're rivaling you in turnover. Be very careful. Someone should write a book about all this.
They've overtaken us long ago in turnover.
I can imagine. But tell me one thing, were they thinking you were like a pimp organizing like a brothel, or just a rich kid with lots of girlfriends?
No, it was the former. And I also had this nice prolific beard at that time. So I realized that it has smashing results. So I decided to get it back.
So it helps you with the ladies, but not with the police. Fair enough.
That's right.
Ooh. So what you're saying is there's another lesson for people listening. Just mention that you come from a family of lawyers because they don't want the janjat of facing 5 lawyers in the police station in the middle of the night, because then it makes it's not worth their while to go through all that.
I have those stickers on my car as well. The lawyer sticker on the car. So I never get stopped at a Nakabandi either.
Really?
Oh, wow.
We should all
Cyrus,
get
we should all get this.
Cyrus, you know what you have to go tell Sunil uncle now, right? Like saying, I don't want anything for the last 30 years. I just want that one sticker.
Yeah, but his worry is I'll take the car with the sticker. Yeah, amazing. All right, let's quickly, I know you guys want to leave. Quickly, if we can get 2-3 AMAs in.
Yes, sure.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
This first one comes in from Harsh Kamble. He says, the subject line, he says, is there such a thing as an easy job? Asking for a friend. He says, hi Cyrus and guests, big fan of Cyrus says, has there ever been a time when you did a piece of work that you in hindsight thought, man, that was really easy to do? Did you still get paid fully and was it fun?
For me, voiceovers. I hate taking money. I just did one for Swiggy, and it's criminal. I shouldn't say this on a podcast because it should be safe. But it's wrong. The kind of money you can get paid for making one sound or 3 words. I mean, how many times can you do it? Do 10 takes? It's 4 minutes. It's like that. It's just ridiculous. So for us, there are a few. But then again, there's lots of work you do for days and you get very little money for it. Or plays, for example, we make nothing. And I'm sure Suvir and Pratik will tell you stories. Is there anything like an easy job, or always comes back to bite you in the ass? Anything you do?
No, I think, I think there are a few, right? There are a few line items that get sorted while you're doing other work any which ways. But it's beautiful to put a cost head over there. But there are 90 other line items that you don't get paid for that you just have to, get it done. So no, there is nothing called an easy job. I think in terms of time and effort that you need to put in, it doesn't exist, right? Like I mean,
I'll give you a foxy take on it. Easy job is
Please.
actually it's an
it's
easy
an
job is an
oxymoron.
oxymoron. Yeah, our life is all about oxymorons because foxymoron is an oxymoron. Easy job is an oxymoron.
Stop it. My listenership is 7. What the hell are you saying? This boom. Way over. But you guys must be aware. I'm asking a slightly awkward question, but I'm amazed that you're very unassuming, very easygoing guys. But you're aware that now people watch you, study you. It's not because ultimately success breeds impersonators and people who want to be like you, etc. So you have that weight also going with you now. But it's amazing that you seem to be exactly the same as you always have been. Him with this ridiculous beard, which by the way, Pratik, he thinks it's cool. I waited 1 hour to tell him the truth. Somebody put their hand up, and I mean, who's going to? Pratik, you're his friend. I thought you guys collide, no problem. Very open, democratic relationship, egalitarian sort of friendship. Come on.
The thing is that
I mean, you've got a nice beard. Yours is what we'd call urban cool.
it took me
That's not
20
a-
years to get here, Cyrus.
That's not there.
Like me, Genghis Khan's bloodline. Don't worry about it.
That's not there.
Just can't grow facial hair. And Suvir is a
good
show
part
off.
about
He
Suvir-
leaves on a weekend, comes back on the next weekend, he's like this. It's ridiculous.
Yes. And the problem is that Suvir, once his winter gets over, right? Like it's about another month and a half, he'll go clean shave. And the thing is that he will shave his head also. Right. So the thing is that we put up his photographs in the press. Then Suvir goes and shakes the hand of the same people we put up the press. And they said, "Who are you?" And Suvir says, "Hi, I'm Suvir." And I have seen people go just to the side, open up their phones just to see, dude, this man doesn't look like the same man. And the next, in 3 months later, he has a new look. So we have seen him in all seasons, but the people who haven't, it's like finding a new Suvir every 4 months. That's what he does all the time. That's why he does it. So there's no point telling him.
But then, so that's his thing then. Clearly, that's his thing.
Yeah.
He reinvents himself literally, physically.
Yes,
But so you're missing one brand then. You've got, let's say, you've got Billa, Pepsi, Unilever, Burger King, Amazon, Netflix. You're missing one Kumbh Mela. Because that's where we can put him now. Yeah,
we have it. You started off with Patanjali. He's the real Babaji ki booty. That's
true.
That's
true.
That's where.
No,
that's
he's
where
your
it is.
competition. Be very careful. He's branched out into everything and he's got the magic touch, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
Do we have time for one more?
Sure. Let's do one quick one. Anish Thakur. This is Anish Thakur's question. He says, "Hey Cyrus and dear guests, in the US there is something called pilot season, which is the time from January to April of every year in LA when a lot of networks
shows.
are making and trying new shows. But most of these pilots are never even released. My question is, how often in your professional life does it happen that you worked on something, but it just doesn't release or see the light of day or gets cancelled? Has this happened to you guys?"
Put it this way, there was one which shouldn't have been released and was released. Hello, friends.
Hello.
And there would be at least 4 or 5 over the years which have not been, which haven't seen the light of day. And at least one was really good, I thought. But these are, Pratik and Suvir have to answer these questions because they're actually the people who see something from the concept to wherever it's shown, etc., and the sales after that. So they're the ones to talk about that because we only get involved in the creative and making of it. And after that, we have no idea. But this happens a lot. This head count or turnaround count, or whatever you want to call it, death count rather, is a lot across the world. Is it not, Pratik?
Yes, we have something which we call the pitch graveyard, honestly, where a lot of the ideas that we pitch never see the day of light.
Come to die.
Yeah, they come to die, and the best part is that this is the only graveyard where you can go back and pick for the next brand, because it's the best way to to work around the short timelines that you actually get. But the real things that never, and like I said, right, a lot of the things that we start, right, like we start as ideas, they germinate, they get into some sort of a thing, and they just fizzle out. They never, we made tons of investments in businesses, in structures, in studios, in whatever you say, which never see the light of day, and that's absolutely all right because that's the only way you'll know if something is going to stick or it's not going to stick. So for us, I think the last 13 years has been trial season or whatever it's called, pilot season in LA. And that's where we've always been, and that's where we would like to be always. We're always experimenting, and it's all good. Yeah, like I think it's good that they talk about failure so openly. I don't think as a society we talk about failure.
And should you be emotional about and connected to what you're doing in that sense, or should you be leave a little distance there so that you can move on to the next project? Because that's
in everything you do, you have to leave distance. Yeah, Cyrus. If we start to hold Foxymoron too closely, we start to hold Zoom Media too closely, or we start to take our own reputations too seriously or hold it too closely, it'll all just go away. If you can just be unemotional about it and just put your head down and continue doing what you're doing, I think you're a lot better because your investment just takes 2 steps back, and it's clearer to see it from a distance versus it's too blurry when you're too close.
And is it true you guys have taken 50% equity in Republic TV? And now Arnab has to report to you?
That happened many years ago. I'm surprised you're announcing that only now.
I was waiting for the end of the show so that people weren't upset. Yeah. All right. I know you're running out of time. Just one quick thing.
No,
Are
we
you-
have we can take another 5-7 minutes.
Just,
It's okay.
yeah. So, just are you interested in the international market? Because from what we gather now, I mean, that's the next step. Obviously, are you interested in? From the smiles, obviously, you are. You're already in place with plans. So, tell us.
Yeah, actually, Cyrus, before we met a couple of weeks ago, I was actually in the US for through November and December, and as the year turns, I'm actually going back to the US, and Prateek is going to Dubai, and the intention over 22 and 23.
You get the US, he gets Dubai. Yeah.
Woo!
I love Dubai, by the way. I'm a big Dubai fan, so that's fine. Yeah.
No, but the intention very much is to globalize. In fact, we announced publicly at the head of last year that we're going to go global, but obviously last year happened, and there's no point talking about that. But we're going to start closest to home, which is Dubai, and we're going to start furthest to home simultaneously, which is New York as well. The intention is, the narrative for tech in India has been built by all our forefathers and with the Wipros and the Infis of the world, etc. But for years the Goras have been coming to India and making use of our talent on the tech and the creative space, and then buying us out. We didn't let them buy us out in 2014 and 15. We said no to the Goras when they came to buy us out. But the idea is to now, to role reverse, and for us to take our creativity and our tech and our skill set and go to more mature markets where the size of the pie is larger, and be able to, I shouldn't say dominate, but be able to make our presence felt, because we've got a strong back office of 300-400 guys here in India who are smart, English speaking, well spoken, globally curious. Why can't we deliver global solutions? So come January, I'm off to New York, Prateek's off to Dubai, and we start a new chapter of our lives.
Can I just tell you the problem I'm having with this entire monologue? As usual, my petty mind, you're not willing to use the word dominant because you're a polite person and don't want to say that I want to assault the competition. But you say Gora left, right, and center is the most racist comment ever. I'm stuck here. How polite and sweet he is. He won't use the word dominate because it's all good PR. I mean, Gora left and Gora right 5 times. Yeah, but quickly that's you didn't sell out which is huge. So again, you have great self-belief to not sell out. You could have easily moved on to something else or redone it with the money, in a sense, reinvented yourselves as you guys do. But what do you think? How did that decision come about in your heads? I mean, was it a quick one or was it a really deliberate?
No, it was a very laborious one, actually. It took many years to come up with that because we saw all our contemporaries selling and making a lot of money, very early on in life, more zeros than that you have the Aukat to count very early on in life. And it's not like we weren't tempted, to be honest. We weren't tempted by the money. We were tempted by the opportunity to join a large organization, learn from their leaders, etc. But then there were multiple circumstances that, the worlds weren't coming together naturally, and there was a lot of misfits culturally, structurally, etc. And then we said, hey, look, we're really enjoying doing what we're doing. We love making decisions ourselves. And all of a sudden, if you give 51% of your company to somebody else, you're not making decisions. So the fact that we want to buy a tech company or the fact that we want to open an office in New York, all of a sudden, it's not Prateek and my decision. So why should we have somebody, limit our ambition for a price, for a cost? We can make our own money. We are making our own money. So why limit our ambition and why limit our fun, actually? That's the way I look at it. We have a great time doing what we're doing. So why limit the fun?
So basically, you started with no one being your master, and it's going to be like that. So either the universe has to be level or it just doesn't work. I think that's fair enough because you suddenly change the dynamics of okay, you guys got to go, no problem. Thank you so much, Suvir, Prateek. Let me just read: co-founder, Zoom Media and Foxy Moron, batting 14 years and going strong. Superb, well done, and all the best for the future. And Prateek, I'll probably see you in Skylark one day, coming to visit Suvir at some point.
Yes, 100%.
In case he's changed his look, just tell me, huh? India's most wanted. Be very careful. Okay. See you guys. Have a good day.
Thanks for having us, Cyrus. Thanks, Anshik.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Vaisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you, folks.
If you're a cricket fan, check out Edges and Sledges, India's favorite cricket podcast.
The podcast focuses on Indian cricket, the IPL, and has a ton of banter both on and off the field.
We talk about the week's biggest cricket stories with current and ex-international cricketers, coaches, or sometimes just between us.
And it's hosted by me, DJ.
Me, Varun.
And me, Ashwin.
New episodes release every week.
You can catch us on the IVM Podcast's website, app,
or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.